Hi, welcome to the Thriving Writer Show. On today's show, I have a ghostwriter, a book strategist, and a writing coach whose name is Julie Eason. Julie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Frank. Thanks for having me on. I love talking about writing.
Great, because that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, well, first, at what point did you decide that you wanted to write for a living or just write in general?
That's a great question. I used to write stories when I was a kid for birthday presents and Christmas presents for people because I didn't have money. And I thought, well, everybody else is giving me presents, so I want to give somebody else a present. So I would write them stories with them in it. And that was really fun. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I did that all the way up through high school. And then when I got married and I was pregnant with my first child, I really wanted to stay home. I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make it work? Like my husband makes lots, not lots of money, but we're okay with just him doing things. But I really need to feel like I have an outlet and that I have an income because it's important to me to feel like I'm contributing. So I was just like, what can I do? What can I do? And so I sort of just stumbled into writing articles for newspapers and for magazines. And this was like way back in the late 80s. Like this was before there was internet, before there was email. Like people would go, do you have email, that thing, So we had to do everything by mail. And so I stumbled into query writing and learning how to approach magazines. And I started with these little tiny niche magazines because I was a historical reenactor. And so I would write for these history magazines. And I'm like, well, this is easy. I can do this all day long. I love talking about this stuff. So I would just write articles and they'd send me a couple $100. And I was like, this is great. But then I over time, I had to figure out how to kind of turn it into more of a business.
Yeah. I love that idea of writing articles. And you take me back to when I remember magazines were still on paper for the most part. My parents still got the paper. And I think even now they don't get the paper anymore because it just seems like everything is digital. And I'm sure there's still a few books sold out there that are made of paper, but I'm not sure it's as many as.
Oh, there's tons of them. What's really funny is people will send me digital books all the time, and I can't read them. I mean, it feels wrong in my body to read a digital book. Like I do it all the time for my clients, but I hate it. And I write digitally. I mean, obviously I write on a computer, but when I'm reading a book, I want a book. I want to feel it in my hands. And maybe that's just because I'm old fashioned or something, but it just feels wrong when it's not a physical book in my hand. And I think that perception is really important in marketing because a lot of people think, oh, I just need to write an ebook. It's just an ebook. Clients tell me this all the time. I'm just writing an ebook. It shouldn't cost very much money as a ghostwriter, and I'm like, it's a book. It's the same amount no matter what, because the quality of the writing has to be the same. But you know what? It's funny because when I was writing magazine articles, I was approaching, women's magazines, big national magazines with these ideas. And this is when they were first getting online and they were first, building their websites and trying to figure out how they were going to survive in this digital world because they didn't know how to sell advertising online. Everything was brand new. And they would come back to me and say, that's a great article idea. We'd love you to write it, but it's only going to be online. So it's only $35. These are like 2,000 word articles that would have brought, $1,500 to $2,000 if it was print.
Wow.
But if they're like, it's just online, so it won't be that much. And I'm like, okay, this is an interesting perception that people have because even today, print is still perceived as the real thing. It's the real thing. It's what's really valuable, and things that are digital are not as valuable. And I just think that's really important to remember when you're marketing your book and when you're deciding, do you want to put an ebook out or a print book? I always say do both. Do three, do audiobooks as well. But it's just so fascinating to me that we still have that mindset. And I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. It's just how we're raised from children. We're raised to think that, books are important, and we learn, I don't know anybody who's teaching their kids how to read with a Kindle. I just don't. Maybe there are people, but it's not me.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Kindle myself, but you do make a good point. holding a physical book in your hand is a different feeling than reading it online.
Mm-hmm.
And but even though the content might be just as valuable, I guess maybe it's just the perception, as you say, of having something with weight.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes it feel better.
I think it's part of it is because there's so much content right now. Content marketing is huge, and there's just so much noise out there. And so we have this perception that it's anything on a screen. We have to judge it. Is it real? Is it true? Is this actually going to work? Is what they're saying right? And is it valuable because it's on a screen? And I mean, I'm not saying that those words are not valuable. I'm just saying that's the perception. And so if you are trying to, set yourself up as a thriving writer, which obviously if you're watching this great show, you are, then you need to really consider what people's perceptions are about books and about print. And even if they buy the book on Kindle and they love it that way, just having the option for them to buy it, even if it's just print on demand and only a handful of people ever buy a print book, having it available as print is really important because of the perception.
That's great points. I first met you in your Facebook group, the Writers Accountability Group. And so I want to ask you, how important or does it vary to have a daily writing habit? How important is that for a writer?
Oh, geez, that's the hard question because, there's the advice you got to give people and then there's what you actually do. And I always come clean. I always say, I've been a professional writer for almost 30 years. Well, 30 years. And that just kills me in my heart. I'm like, how did I get that old? But anyway, so I've been through a lot of different advice, training programs. I've gotten a lot of advice. I've given a lot of advice. I've coached a lot of people. And I really think it comes down to the kind of personality that you have and being exceedingly aware of your own habits and your own ways of doing things. And this takes time. I mean, it takes time. There was a time when I was like, butt in chair. That was the rule, right? BIC, you have to put your butt in the chair and you can't get up and even to go to the bathroom unless you've written 1,000 words, or an hour. If the word count doesn't work for you, you have to sit there for an hour and you can't do anything else. That doesn't work for me because I just want to go, bite me. I don't want, even if it's me setting rules like that for myself, I don't want to do it. I immediately rebel. I immediately say, no, I'm not going to do it. But if I kind of sneak my way around and I say, okay, I have a deadline because I have clients and I'm never going to miss a deadline for a client. I'm just not going to do it because I need the money, right? I need the client. So I don't want to make them angry with me. So I have a deadline. Sometimes I'll set that deadline a day or two ahead of time. And you've seen me do this in the group. You've seen me go like, okay, I have to get it done this week. Friday's the last day and I'll get it done. I always do. Always do. Even if it's not a complete final draft, even if it's not perfect, I always meet the deadline. So I know that about myself after 30 years of writing. I know that if I have a certain amount of time, it's going to take me that long to do. If I give myself 6 months to write a book, I'm going to write it the last week anyway, because that's what I do. I mean, that's just how, and I'm completely 100% honest with myself for that. So why not give yourself a month instead of 6 months and get it done faster?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So writing routines, and I'm slowly getting into one now that my kids have grown and gone. I have 3 children and I was a stay-at-home mom. And that was what I set out to do. And I drove them to school and I picked them up from school and they had after school activities and I never knew what every day was going to be like. So having a routine when they were here was impossible. Now it's just me. My husband goes to work and I'm here all day long. I can set up a little bit more of a routine, but again, I know myself. I know that I'm gonna find ways around it. So I just have to set deadlines. That works best for me. Some other people, it works different ways. I think you just have to be aware of your own habits and your own personality.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think probably what I've been thinking about lately is even more than writing every day is if you just find some way to move a little forward in your growth as a writer, that makes all that time you spend writing worthwhile, I think, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's more to writing than just writing. When you say you're in a writing routine, well, are you writing new words? Are you editing? Are you marketing? Because the marketing is, I mean, that's 90% of the job is marketing your books. So like, if you only have an hour a day to spend on your book business, and maybe hopefully you have more time than that, but if that's all you've got, well, you've got to split that time up somehow between writing new stuff and marketing the old stuff and editing and going and doing all of the publishing detail. I mean, there's so much. So it's really important for you to balance, I think, what is going on and how you're spending your time. Because I mean, reading for me is absolutely going to help my writing, you know, and it's valuable time, and I have to continue to learn. Right now I'm learning screenwriting. I don't think I'll ever write a screenplay, but who knows? You know, I just bought 3 books about screenwriting because I'm like, that looks cool. Let's learn about that, because who knows what it's going to help me in the long run. So broadening your horizons, that's all part of writing.
Yeah, I think it's great to challenge yourself to do new things. And
yeah,
even if you don't, like you say, don't write a screenplay, you probably learned something from that approach that you could use when you're writing.
Exactly. There's the more things that you can draw from and the more techniques you have, the better, because you know, if you're stuck, you can go, all right, well, let's flip it. Let's do something. What would I do if this was a screenplay? Well, I would do this. And then you can just, you know, sometimes you can write yourself out of things just by pretending.
Yeah. And that's the fun of writing, I think, right?
I think so too. You're allowed to have fun as a writer. It's okay. You don't have to be all angsty all the time.
Absolutely. So what would you say, after being in the writing business for 30 years and coaching people, what's the thing they struggle with the most that you
if they have not been published before, they struggle the most with getting it done, getting the book finished. And that is more about their internal struggles than it is about anything that they're putting on the page. When I wrote my first book, it took me 16 years. 16 years. And the second book I wrote was a week, because I had a deadline for a client that I had to get done. He had to have it, right? So the problem that I realized when I started writing that first book when I was 16, and I mean, I was learning and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was just writing because I was writing fantasy because that's what I liked to read when I was in high school. And, you know, so I learned that I was over editing. I was writing the same 3 chapters over and over and over again, because I'd write 3 chapters and then I'd put it away. And I'd get busy and distracted. And then I'd be like, I really need to get back to that book. So I'd pull it out again. And I'd go, oh, this is terrible. And I'd go back to the beginning and I'd rewrite those same 3. And I did that for years, same 3 chapters. And then I noticed I was doing it with paragraphs. And I would rewrite the same paragraph over and over and over again. And what I finally realized was there's a million ways to say the same damn thing. And none of them are wrong. You know, if you're communicating and you're getting the emotion that you want out of the reader and you're moving the story forward, it's not wrong. You're the boss. You're the boss of your book, right? And it's so important to just get it done and get it out there and get past that fear of letting other people read it and of saying it's done. Because here's the thing. This is not the only book you're ever going to write. Yeah. You have a million ideas. I know you do. You have a million ideas. You have spinoffs. You have different books. You have different genres. And you can always get to that, but you got to get that first one out and get it done. And that's the biggest thing I think people struggle with.
And that speaks to something we struggle with as writers. We want it to be perfect.
To be perfect. It's not good enough. That's the worst thing. And that's what's so beautiful about a deadline that you can't miss. That's why I started that group, the accountability group, is because it's like, look, at some point you got to let it go. And it's never going to be perfect, because there's always going to be something you can think about. I had to republish a book that I wrote, The Profitable Business Author. I had published it through a hybrid publisher in Canada, and then they went out of business and gave me back the rights and everything. And so I needed to republish it. And I spent probably 2 months putting it off, going, oh, but I really should rewrite it. I have all these new ideas now. I should update it. I should make a second. And finally I was like, no, I don't have to get it on Amazon. That's all I have to do. And I can write another book later if I want to do, if I want to update it or whatever. But it's so tempting to just go backwards all the time and try to fix things and try to make things perfect. But it's never going to be perfect. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's better to shoot for being effective, I think, than to be perfect.
Does it get the point across?
Right, right. And if you need to make some money, it's better to go ahead and get something out there that can and that you can tweak and, improve just by getting interactions with people than it
Right.
is to sit on it forever, like 16 years or what have you.
Yeah. It's funny. I was interviewing Bob Berg, who's a well-known business writer, and he said, I write books, and I will swear that this is going to be the one that really takes off. I mean, he's got a book that's a bazillion-dollar bestseller. Like The Go-Giver is a classic in the business world, and everybody knows it. Everybody has it. It's an amazing book. But he's like, that wasn't the one I thought was going to take off. That was like just a thing I put out there. And I'm like, really? He's like, you just never know. So trying to keep something perfect and to keep something close and make it perfect, you don't know if that's the thing that's going to go out in its imperfect form and be huge, or whether you have something waiting behind it that's the one that's going to be huge. So you need to get to it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So you're a ghostwriter. Tell us what ghostwriters do to help authors who have a message. Well, I guess maybe not even authors, but say a business person or a speaker who has a message they need to get out there and package.
Yeah, so I work with the business world, and that's because I came after I was writing articles, I moved to copywriting, which is all about sales. It's all about marketing and sales writing, and it's a lot more of a commodity now than it used to be. So it used to be, I mean, I could get $10,000 to write a letter, and that's because they were making hundreds of thousands of dollars every time somebody responded to that letter. So you had to be persuasive and everything. Those clients all wanted books. They realized that the book was the new baseline. A book is a baseline for business now. It's like having a business card. If you are not an author, people don't take you as seriously as the people who are authors, right? So in the business world right now, everybody wants books. They all want, and they're being given a lot of really bad advice. They're being told, oh, just take all your blog posts and put them on Amazon, or, write a quickie ebook and that's all you need to do. And, and I take the opposite approach. And I'm like, no, your book needs to be really good because everybody has a book. So you have to stand out. It has to be, professionally written, professionally edited, well published, has to have a great cover. It has to have good copy on the back. It has to have a marketing plan and a launch plan. And so I do all of that stuff. I actually had to start my own publishing company because I had clients that I needed to. I was like, you're going to screw this up. Let me do it, please. Because I didn't want all my hard work to go, and get messed up. So ghostwriters, there's a lot of different levels of ghostwriters. There's a lot of different levels of clients, right? And there's different things that they do. But for most ghostwriters, what they do is they take a business and an idea that the author has, and make no mistake, they are the author. And I always tell them this. They're like, oh, but aren't you really the author? No, I'm the writer. You're the author. It's a totally different thing, right? And so I help them articulate, master their message, figure out how they're going to turn it into a framework that's teachable and repeatable. And then we're going to figure out what is it that you want to sell at the end of the day. What do you want people to do when they're done reading the book? Do you want to sell them a service? Do you want them to hire you to speak? Do you want to, change the world? Do you want them to join a nonprofit? What do you want them to do? And so because I'm a copywriter and I'm used to writing things that sell, I know how to work the book so that it just leads people down and is like, okay, now don't you want to do this? And they all go, yes, I would love to do that. So it leads them from being a complete cold customer where they don't know the author, they don't know the business, they don't know anything. And then they completely trust that author and want to buy from them. And that's what I do in the business world. There's ghostwriters for all kinds of books. But in that particular case, that's what I do. And it's what I love to do because these authors have a goal, and their superpowers are not writing. Their superpowers are, being a tax accountant or being a life coach or whatever it is that they do, running a software company. That's what they do. And they have an amazing message, an amazing thing that they can help the world with, but they don't know how to write. And so that's where the ghostwriters come in.
Yeah. And I saw that one of those books that you were involved with was Russell Brunson's .com Secrets.
Yeah, I wrote his books. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question this raises is how can authors think in terms of using their book as a business tool rather than being their baby?
Yes. So you have to think about, I always say, think from the end and work backwards. Okay. And for fiction writers, what that means is, what do you want your writing to be? Do you want it to be a career? Do you want to like be able to quit your job and just write fiction all day long? People want that so badly, and they think, I don't know how to do it. I can't do it. Even if they're great writers, even if they get published once or they publish themselves once, they just don't, they're like, there's no momentum, right? And so the biggest thing that people need to understand about creating a business out of their writing is they've got to have fans. They've got to have a tribe. They've got to have a platform. And that starts at the beginning. As soon as you start writing your book, you need to start talking about it, and you need to start collecting people together who might be interested in reading what you're writing. Now they're like, oh, but I don't know how to do that. It's like, write a blog. Just start with a blog. That's all you have to do. Like, oh, I don't know what to say. What is it that you do every day? You know, people want to know behind the scenes. They want to know the Easter eggs. They want to know, you know, was it hard for you to write this scene? Or, oh, I've got this great idea and I'm thinking about this. And, you know, they want to be there on the ride to the end of the book. You don't want to keep them in the dark. You want to get them excited to read the whole thing. Some people will write a book and they'll put all the chapters out there, and then they build up this huge audience, and then they sell a lot of books because those people are excited about it. They may have even been part of it. Oftentimes I'll tell authors, you know, have your Facebook fans vote on a cover. You don't have to use what they choose. Yeah. But, you know, get them to feel like they're involved and they're excited to share it and talk about it because they know an author. Here's the thing. Everybody wants to be an author. Like something like 90% of the people polled in some poll like back in the 90s, they all said, I've got a book in me. Almost no one ever becomes an author. And so when they can say that they know one, it's like this huge status boost. And they're like, I know the author, you know, it's this cool thing. So that's what people want to know. They want to know, how are you coming with the writing? Is the book almost done? And if you go and you read other authors, successful authors' blogs, what are they talking about? I had an author that I published. He's a 70-some-year-old guy writing romance novels in Minnesota. I'm like, seriously, for real. Like, and they're really good. I enjoy reading them, and I'm like, this is cool. You need a blog so that you can get people excited about it. He's like, oh, what the heck do they want to know about me? I'm just some old guy in Minnesota living in a cabin making wine. You know, I'm like, well, that's fascinating. So I said, just let people know about your daily life. He goes canoeing all the time. The books are called Canoes in Winter is the series. And I'm like, take pictures when you go canoeing. He has a backyard wildlife camera. He'd say he didn't think that was a big deal. I'm like, you have freaking bears going by in the middle of the night looking at the camera and making funny faces. I'm like, that's not interesting. Of course it is. Nobody in New York City has bears walking around in their backyard. So he's like, oh, so he started posting those pictures, and he started, you know, talking about the mushroom season and the winemaking season and how you do these things and all this. And all of a sudden he started having followers. It was like, this is cool. I'm like, look, you have a business. He thought he only had one book in him. He thought he was just going to write this one book and be done. And that was a thing that it was just a lark. Right. And he's on his third book. I think he's working on it. He's published 3 in the series. I think he's working on the 4th one now. He's like, I can't stop writing. This is fantastic. I'm like, look, you have a business. You did it. You know, you're successful. You are making money from something that you just thought up in your head during a long Minnesota winter. How awesome is that?
Oh man, yeah. And then I think sometimes we just need other people to point out what's interesting about
it. Right. We don't know. I'm not interested.
We don't know.
Of course you are.
Yeah. I mean, because when you do something every day, it seems ordinary to you, right, but to somebody else, it's amazing.
Right. Exactly.
That's a cool thing.
Exactly.
Okay. So what are some other ways that authors can market their books before they're even done writing with?
That's awesome question. So the first thing you do is you get your book cover designed first thing. As soon as you know what the heck you want to talk about and what your title might be, it doesn't have to be the final cover. You can change it. But you get the cover designed and you put that little picture on all of your social media profiles, on all of your email signatures, and you say you are the author of the upcoming book, because you are the author of the upcoming book. You're not saying that the book is published or anything. You're not even saying it's written. You're saying you're the author of the forthcoming book. Sounds even more formal. And then whatever your title is, and you can put a little picture of it next to that. Now, when people read that, all they see are the words author and the picture. They don't even think about the fact that it's not written yet. They don't even care. They just think, oh my gosh, this person is an author. And in the business world, that can mean hundreds of thousands. It has meant hundreds of thousands of dollars to people because they're like, oh my gosh, I saw that you're the author of this book and it's amazing. Oh, it's not done yet. Well, I don't care. I need to buy this thing. Right. And so like I tell this to my authors. I'm like, you could be making money off of this book way before it's even done, because you just put it out there and you get people excited about it, especially in the business world. In the fiction world, you'd have to get a little creative, but you can do things like putting out little snippets and little maybe character sketches, or if you're an illustrator, you can put out little illustrations and have people sign up on a mailing list to get them. Like, would you like to read the next section, or would you like to hear read the backstory on this particular character that is awesome? You know, I've got a free download for you. Just tell me where to send it. And they put their name and email in there, and you're suddenly building a list. You're building a list of your fans, and you need to have those email addresses so that when your book is done, you can say, it's ready, go buy it. You know, you want to be able to tell everyone, go buy my book. So collecting that email list is critical. And people are like, oh, I don't know how to make that exciting. I'm like, give away little chapters, give away pictures, give away illustrations. Do a t-shirt raffle, you know, like you can do print on demand with t-shirts and mugs and mouse pads and notebooks and all kinds of things. So if you're an illustrator and you're, you know, writing, my daughter's an illustrator, that's why this is coming to my head. You can create swag and sell it before the book is done. You know, I mean, if it's a really cool picture, why not? Why wait?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some great ideas, and probably some of those people hadn't really thought of, and that's why I asked the question. And I think the answers are great. What else are you working on right now that you'd like to tell us about?
I am working on, and actually I have been working on, but I'm actually getting ready. This is me being 100% transparent and saying that I've been like holding back and not putting out the full thing. But I have an online course that teaches business people how to write books that inspire, educate, and sell. And the course runs from building a platform, writing the book, editing the book, publishing the book. How do you want to publish it? Do you want a traditional publish? Here's how you do that. Do you want to self-publish? Here's how you do that. And it goes through launching and marketing. It's a comprehensive course. And I have a little group where we have a once a week live call. If people have questions, they can get in touch with me. It's called the Nonfiction Book Academy. It's mostly geared towards business people, but anybody who wants to write a nonfiction book can benefit from it. And people who want to learn how to ghostwrite for these people. I mean, this is the thing that I love, is that ghostwriting for me has meant that I am at the top of the food chain now. When I used to have to chase clients all the time, and I used to have to, you know, do low paying jobs and work my butt off. And I know there are so many people out there writing content, and they're writing 100 blog articles a week. 100 blog articles a week just to make enough money to survive. I'm like, oh my God, I charge $50,000 to $100,000 for a book. Start at make it to the top of the food chain, learn the craft, learn how to write the book, learn, the strategies. And that's what this course teaches, is how to do that. So I have kind of two streams. I have people who want to do it themselves and people who want to be ghostwriters. And once you do that, even if you're only charging $10,000, which, I mean, I can send you clients all day long for that, how much better is that to write one book in every couple of months, as opposed to writing 100 articles a week? You're doing less work and you're making more money. So I'm really excited to help bring that to people's worlds. And I don't think that the people are aware of just how badly it's needed. I mean, good ghostwriters are hard to find. There's a lot of them out there who just don't really know what they're doing. And so I'm trying to change that, because I can only write so many.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so is the course available now, or will it be available?
It's available now. It's on the nonfictionbookacademy.com, but you can get it like way cheaper. If you go through, I have a book, my book, The Profitable Business Author. If you go to theprofitablebusinessauthor.com, you can get the book for free, and that will give you an introduction to this world. And then you can actually purchase the course there. It's going to be available in 2 days, we're launching it. So by the time you guys are seeing this, it'll be up and ready to go ahead and purchase the course at that one time. This is the only time I offer it at that really wicked low price, is on that particular page, because I want to reward people who are like, yes, I'm going to do this. So yeah, they can either way, but I'm just excited to help people be more successful with their books.
Absolutely. That's great. And we'll be sure to include all that information in the show notes when we.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, Julie, it's been great. I've enjoyed talking with you, and I'd love to talk with you again sometime.
Yeah, it's been great, Frank. Thank you so much. And thanks for all you do for writers. Everybody needs a lot of help, and it's awesome. It's wonderful to have resources like this. This is great.
Yes, it is. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.